infamous what if. And it might sound crazy and we might have low attendance because everybody's like, what is a what if? But what if is taking a look at our business and figuring out what if we did something consistently? What if we change something that's um, in our habit, in our routine, right? How much of an impact would that have? And I'm hoping some of our door knocking candidates from last weekend joined, because I see Christine's on. And maybe this is not a good idea, but Christine, did we have any follow up with our owner there?
Good morning. No, well, we've sent out our thank you card to him, but we haven't heard anything from Dominic, right? I'm assuming you're referring to?
Yeah, Dominic. Yep.
Yep. We did send a thank you card, but we haven't heard. And Carly and I plan on going door knocking tomorrow morning at 10.
Fantastic. Now, are you going to build this into part of your habit of maybe twice a week? Do you think you could pull that off?
Yes, we are. And we think that the summertime will actually give us more time to hit that 8 hour a week mark. And I'm actually filling out my application as we speak for Ocean, so we can get the permit there as well.
And, I know most people here don't know you, Christine, but was there anything negative about doing that?
The door knocking?
Yeah.
No, I think everybody was really great. I feel that the door knocking was a better experience than calling on the phone, because you actually are putting a name to a face. This was our farm that we went after, and really opened up, some people. It was a nice day out. Carly and I really enjoyed it more than calling on the phone. So we're definitely going to incorporate that as much as we possibly can.
Okay. And now I haven't paid you to say that, right? Doing
No.
that, you're doing that upon your own free will, correct?
Absolutely. And we're happy to I think we're going to do a live. So we're going to record and see if we can get some homeowners that will interact with us when we go, whether they want to sell their home or not, just to kind of see what their take is on how we're going about it.
So I actually did it one time with a GoPro around my neck. And I would have thought so many people would be like, why are you wearing a GoPro? And I did it like 4 times, maybe 6. And only one person asked me. I said, you know what? We just do this for security reasons. Oh, that's really smart. That's great. Nothing. So sometimes the demons are in our head. Like I was like, Brian, there's no way I'm walking around with a GoPro around my neck. And we did document that there were nobody was negative. It was just a really overall positive experience. And on an unrelated note, it was just a lot of fun to get to know some of the team members here and walk with them personally. You get a new perspective. Many of you I met in person for the first time by doing that. So it was a really positive experience. And it's great for me to do that, to get to meet you. But if it becomes a habit, that's really what my goal is to expose you to different ways. And what if you were to do this on a regular basis? How would that impact your farm? How would that impact your business? And for many of us, how does it impact your life? Right? What if you decided to put away 5 or 10% and invest in, a partial property or get a property once a year, right? What would that do for you? I've been going through the numbers, and if you put down 20-25%, you bought an investment property, you do a 15-year mortgage, you can cover it. It might be a little inconvenient at times if there's a vacancy, a tenant, something happens to that property, but in 15 years, you own that outright. You borrowed money at 2.5%. What if you did that? What would that do for you? Right? Zach, what would that do for you if how many years you've been selling real estate, Zach?
Oh, 5.5.
5.5. What if you bought a property every other year? You'd have 3 properties now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? If you're like me, when you get money, sometimes it just disappears. I don't know where it goes, right?
Correct.
You bought some properties. It's like if you ever had a regular job, you put money away in a 401k, you don't miss it, right? Because you never saw it, you never had it.
Correct.
So, and I know intellectually this makes all the sense in the world for everybody, but if there's a handful of people that I can impact by influencing you to make that sacrifice, or even better yet, okay, does anybody have a vision board that they ever use to accomplish something? Anybody?
Yes,
Who's that?
Maikin.
Mike, in, how are you?
Good, how are
So
you?
I'm doing fantastic. So what did you put on a vision board, if you don't mind sharing with us?
I put on a picture of a beach. I put on a picture of Lady Gaga.
Okay.
And just like healthy foods and other random stuff. Some dollar bills.
So the beach is something that you want to have a second home at some point, or a beach house?
Yeah, well, ultimately, we ended up moving to the beach a year ago, like right before COVID. So I feel very fortunate. But yeah, that was my vision board like 2 years ago. And it
So,
came to fruition, basically.
well, congratulations on that. And sometimes a vision board is an end, a means to an end, or whatever they say, where you need to get some things before you get what you want, right? So to have that financial freedom, who values financial freedom, right? Everybody who has their camera on, and if you don't mind, even if your hair is a little messy, put your camera on. I really feel that the meetings have a lot more meaning when we can see each other. Like Christine mentioned, when you get to see people in person, it's a higher level of impact. Okay, so you know the vision board and the what ifs. Anybody will probably figure out that these are all connected, right? These are all interrelated, inseparable if you embrace it. Okay, you know, it's an absolute pleasure to get to meet with those of you who have walked with, or we've done some things together. Um, and what if Anthony, what if you knew every listing appointment, Anthony Lambiase, every listing appointment you went on, you were going to get?
I'd love it.
What if you knew that, and how would that impact you, Anthony?
I think it brings positive messaging feedback to me. That's what I think it does, and it builds. It kind of builds on my psyche to want to be able to do even more consumer service.
Does anybody here want to be brave enough to say you maybe get a little butterflies before you go on a listing conversation or a listing appointment? We have a few honest people here, and if you get a little bit of anxiety before you go on a listing appointment, does that make you more ambitious to set up appointments, or maybe it makes you a little bit self-sabotaging when you think about it? So who raised their, is it Lorraine?
Lorraine, I would say it makes me more ambitious because I don't really want to feel that too much.
So the butterflies in your stomach, the anxiety makes you more ambitious to go and get these appointments?
Yeah, because I want to get over that. I want to get over that feeling.
So my experience has been somewhat contrary to that. Everybody realizes that you have a subconscious, right? That sends you in a direction that you don't want to go, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's a very disempowering subconscious. It's like the demons that are in our head. And if we were to think about this, Lorraine, and say, every listing appointment I get on, I know I'm going to win that listing. I feel very confident that I'm going to get that listing at the right price with a fair commission, and I'm going to help the homeowner.
Right.
I'm going to say that for most of us, we would be more ambitious, more consistent about setting up those appointments because we know the outcome, right?
Yes. Yes.
And there's even a meaning behind that in the what if scenario. The meaning behind that is, what if you could help others, right? Which is a good thing, right? You can help other people in your community or in your sphere. What if you can make a contribution to your personal or your family financial goal by helping others? this is all good stuff, right? This is not like salesman trickery 101. This is good, honest contribution that helps us in the process of helping others.
Right.
Does anybody know the name Zig Ziglar? Anybody ever hear that name?
I have, yeah.
I see somebody here.
I've heard that too.
Anybody know what this is one of the most famous quotes that I'm familiar with of his. Now we have a few people that know him. Anybody know the quote that he has? Paul's raising his hand. You wanna
You could have whatever you want, provided you help enough other people get whatever they want. Is that the one you're talking about?
that's the one. Now think about that, right? You know, Lorraine, you know, what inspires you? Like, you know, what would you do if you you know, made the amount of money that you feel that if you made your BHAG, your big audacious goal, how would that change your life, Maureen?
Yeah, well, it would give me a little more security and give me the ability to help more people and do other things and have, greater influence.
And what if along the way of doing that, you know, you had accumulated a bunch of raving fans that were just gushing at the integrity? What if they couldn't stop talking about the compassion and the uh, inspiration and motivation and commitment you had to doing business? How would that make you feel?
I guess it would make me feel pretty good. Yeah.
And what if those people referred you to others because you did more than they ever expected?
It would be very good. Yeah. All good.
So this is the whole what
Yeah.
if here. I'm trying to break. And I don't have any master's degree in psychology. I don't have any official training in this, but I've been around enough people to know that just saying that, you know, a lot of people have a goal where they come to me in November and say, you know, I have a goal of making $250,000. I want to make 250,000. I want to make platinum. Or they might say, hey, I want to make silver or gold or platinum circle of excellence. I want to be chairman's club at Remax, right? But
Hmm.
saying that barely works, right? Because you're not committed to it, right? It's easy to say anything, right?
Right.
But you know, commitment. You know, this goes back to something I had said in earlier meetings, which it is, and I might be getting the exact quote wrong, but you know, the difference between, you know, outrageously successful people, successful and not successful people is, you know, the outrageously successful people, they don't feel like doing the stuff that you don't want to do either, okay? But they just do it anyway because it's part of their habit, okay? It's not an option not to do it, right? You know, and I'm not trying to uh, you know, put praise on myself, but you know what? These meetings here, if I'm on vacation, I'm doing these every Friday at 9:30, even if I'm at Disneyland. You know, we go to the park late
Yeah.
with my kids because you know it's just not an option not to do it because this is something I'm committed to. I'm passionate about it, and I also know if I miss a week, you know, and Anthony Lumbiasi logs on, then he's going to take it out of his habit, and he may not come on the following week. And a lot of what I work to build is compromise. Okay,
Right.
so for Christine, you know, and Carly, who we went out, you know, door knocking, you know, there's going to be times that you may not feel like doing it, it may be inconvenient. You know, you may have a child that's sick one day, or you have a lot of reasons why you won't do it. But I want to tell you, looking you straight in the eyes and say that, look, we all have days that we don't want to do it, but what if we just did it anyway? Or what if we found a solution that we're going to do it regardless? So if I can't do it today because it's snowing, I'll do it 2 days from now. You know, like that's the type of commitment that you really need to have consistent results, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's really the marginal amount that changes good to great. Okay, there's a lot of good people in this industry. There are very few great people, and the difference is very minimal. Does anybody does anybody want to, say you kind of see that or agree with it, right?
Sure.
So I'm going to, let's see, going to go and just put our mission statement up here real quick. And I'm going to also ask everybody to do something. Let's see. You might get tired of this, but I think it's a really healthy exercise that we do. I put this up here so I remember this. I want everybody on here, there's 50 some people, to notify your manager, just send an email to your manager after you do this, is go to your Google page and write a review about our office, your local office. Okay, and the reason why I'm asking you to do that, it's going to help us all, for people who are going to go to Google and use that as validation for working with us, especially people we don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And we can do it. We can have integrity when we do that and just say, you know, I hope if you're here, you feel this way. If you don't, you know, maybe you have a different discussion with your manager, but say this is a great place to. This is a great place to work. You know, I'm surrounded by some of the best professionals in the industry. Give it a 5-star review. Say something that's true. Put it onto your Google review for your local office, because it's going to help us all do better. So I'm going to be checking. I see all you here, so don't fall down on me on the what if. Don't what if me and not do it. Our mission statement, and this is for me, everybody that works here, is to change lives and build communities by empowering agents and clients to make sound real estate decisions. Does that feel right for everybody, or is there anything that we can add to that as a group? Anybody?
Positive energy.
We have positive energy. If we're empowered, okay, I think it's kind of in the spirit, but I like the comment. Anything else?
Staying focused.
So if we're not focused, we're not going to be changing as many lives, are we?
That's right.
Right. So I just think, like, you know, if we can embrace this, or if you want to make some modifications to it to suit yourself, you know, I look at it as, you know, I need to get as much assistance, inspiration, technique to you so that you can transfer that to your clients. Okay. And in the process of doing that, you know, integrity is number one for a reason, because, you know, without integrity, I just don't think we get to the next step. Right.
Right.
If people look at us and they don't trust us, we're going nowhere. And if we, even worse, if we betray that trust, they trust us, but we don't treat them with trust back and give them that courtesy, we're going to work way harder to get where we need to go than if we can just, you know, lead our customers with integrity. Integrity can be our North Star. Okay. So we need to be open and transparent and have the courage to do the right thing while always respecting others. You guys are probably going to get sick of hearing this, but I think Amy in Tinton Falls got another $1.5 million listing by being honest. And it might even been $1.4 million. I'm not sure the exact number, because we went over it and we talked about, you know, the different ways to price it and the strategy and how do you want to position it, and the linguistics were, you know, do you want to surrender leverage and give up control of the process by, you know, overpricing your home? When you use those terms, you know, people are like, you know, and I'm looking at Anthony, like, Anthony, can I list it lower so that we get more offers? You're like, wow, I never thought it could be like this, right?
Right.
But I believe in my core that, you know, the way that you're going to drive the highest value is by getting the most competition and activity. Okay. And if I can show people rather than tell them so that they draw that conclusion, that has integrity. You know, on last Saturday and Sunday, you know, I walked almost 10 miles each day. Many of you walked there with me. We weren't taking breaks. You know, we were hitting it pretty hard. You know, we had not one negative experience. Nobody said, hey, it's COVID. What are you doing here? Nobody said, go away, don't stop bothering me. You know, we cracked smiles. We had good conversations. We learned from people. You know, one of our Tinton Falls agents that I went out with, we were walking down the road. We had this conversation with a lady on her front yard. Her daughter was looking to buy a place, and you know, we probably spoke to her for about 8 or 10 minutes. She said, "Hey, you know, we might be selling in the next year or so." Maybe half hour, 45 minutes. We start coming back the street. The woman runs out of the house.
She flags us down.
All right, Maria, you tell us here.
That is fantastic.
Wow.
She flags us down, and I couldn't go in, but she invited us to go in and look at her house. So Rob and Nicole went in and looked at the house. I had to go home, but I thought that was awesome.
So,
She
so
flagged them down. She just flagged
Yes.
them
She
down.
was very happy to show us her house and all her upgrades.
Yep.
and who was in the closet of her house? This is not a crude thing.
Oh, the painter.
So she was painting all the rooms in neutral color. Okay, so she was definitely more than thinking about selling her house. Okay,
No,
And-
She's definitely under a year.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's getting it ready.
yeah. So it was so funny. She's like, "Can you guys come in my house now and take a look at it?" And I don't know if Nicole, if we had an impact and she had to think about it, or my second reaction was that she wanted us to go in there in the first place, but she wanted to tidy things up before she allowed us in. That's my thought. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
To
She
say
was,
that, yeah.
she was
Totally.
babysitting her grandchild. Now,
Logan.
what if, and that was what, 1 hour? What if we did that 8 hours a week? Can anybody do that? Everybody can do that. What if we told ourselves that every experience is going to be positive? What if we told ourselves that we had to be a little bit patient, that it's not going to come like this right away? So when you first start to do it, my analogies might be really off, but I just try to make a connection. But did anybody ever see like a not so friendly dog, right? And there's somebody that can come over to that dog. Maybe it's even a meek person, and they'll be like, "Hey, pit bull, sit down and stop barking," and the dog will listen, and you'll go there, and the dog would like virtually eat you alive. Did anybody ever have that experience, or is that just me? I see Julio's had it, right? So it's like this silent hand. It's this confidence that doesn't need to be spoken, okay? And this is what needs to be built up over this process of door knocking and engaging with people. And from my perspective, the what if here is, what if we were able to master the one-on-one interaction, okay, where we're talking to people face to face. Now, I'm going to tell you that that's the easiest it ever gets. Okay, better or worse, like when you're in front of somebody, you're able to read, they're able to draw inferences based upon that subtle smile that you crack, the confidence, the energy, the integrity that you exude. Now, right below that would be a video call where you get to see them, okay, but they're not right in front of you. Okay, behind that might be a telephone call, right? Behind that might be a text. Behind that might be an email, right? Do you see the levels and the value of those levels of engagement? So when you realize that, meeting somebody face to face with an open door is the holy grail of this business, this is your moment, your chance to shine. Okay, there will be challenges when you first start to do it on your own. Sometimes, because, I really go with my best game because I don't want to let you down. That's my what if, what if I let somebody down and I was off for an hour while I walked, that it might influence the way you think about, meeting people and talking to them. And I'm going to even go beyond this and say, this door knocking, this getting to meet an absolute stranger and build rapport is not just reserved for walking down the street. Okay, what if you did this when you were, in a store, or when you were walking places? You just had a habit of of saying hi to somebody, and say, hey, my name's Rob. Just wanted to introduce myself to you in a restaurant waiting for a table, right? What if you did that?
Rob, I feel like I do that all the time. But I feel like I talk to people. I have better friends that are like strangers than some of my closest friends, but I have a harder time leaving in, talking to them, and we have like a mutual interest at a restaurant or something. And then I'm like, oh, hey, here's my card. Like, how do you weave that? How does it become organic? I want to perfect the organic networking, right? Which probably so many other people on the phone too, or on the Zoom do as well.
So what you need to do is you need to embrace your personality and your comfort zone and find your way. Okay, because I know that I'm going to give an example. I went to lunch a couple of years ago with Sandy Chambers, one of our top agents. And we're sitting there, and the waiter comes, and she's like, "Hey, do you own a house? Do you want to buy a house?" Like, to the server. and Sandy is a former police officer. She has that intimidating, persona. I mean, she's a extremely warm person, but she just has a presence. And we're sitting there, and she's like, "Can you send the manager over here?" I'm like, "Was there hair in your salad?" I had no idea what to say. And she's like, "Hey, Sandy Chambers with Remax. You know anyone looking to buy a place, that works here?" And they're like, "No, but I am." I'm like, everybody's always teaching me. Okay, like when I go out, like I am, I kind of like close up because I'm like, "Hey, this is my time." But what if I was to go out and ask people, right? It's a conversation.
Yeah, right.
All right. And I will tell you that we had a happy hour it was in Montclair. And I asked the server, this was maybe a couple weeks after Sandy did it. I asked the server, I asked the busboy. He's like, "I could never buy a house." Like, 18 years old. He's like, "I'm 18 years old. I live with my parents. I have no money." I'm like, "Okay, can you send the manager over?" And the manager comes over, and this is where I came up with my famous "give me your number," so when you call, I can recognize it, right? So I give him the agent who I'm sitting with's card. I'm like, "Hey, he's a great agent here. If you ever want to do anything," because he was like, "We're thinking of selling and buying." He's like, "Well, I'll give you a call when we're ready. I need to talk to my wife." And I'm like, "Hey, do you mind if we just jot your number down?" He's like, "No, I'll call you." And I said, "Eric, can I just put your number down so I know it's you when you call, and I give you the courtesy that you deserve and answer the phone, because I get a lot of spam calls." He's like, "Oh, I hate that. I get a lot of spam calls." He writes it down and gives it to us. And I've never, and this is a bold statement, I've never had that fail. Julio, you've seen it, right? Door knocking?
Correct. We used it also a couple of weeks ago. We went door knocking, and it works like a charm.
It works like a charm, and and I apologize, I can't remember who I was knocking with, but like just having that warm personality. And it was the last person we went with last time. I don't remember who it was, but I'm doing this for about, I don't know, 7 or 8 hours down in hot Florida. It was like in the 90s. And we're walking on the way back from the end of the street, second house in. This lady's, "Oh yeah, we've always lived the second house from the end of the cul-de-sac. We love it here. We're never moving," right? So, "Yeah, it's great. If you ever know anybody thinking of moving, blah blah blah," right? And she comes and says, "Julio, do you remember who the last person I went with was? I feel horrible."
Miguel.
So he goes, "Oh, you know what? She's talking to me." She goes, "You know what, Rob? I have a son who's in his late 20s. He would probably work well with Miguel. And I want to help him buy his first house. He actually lives here with his kids." So like, never assume like, all right, she's never moving. She didn't know anybody moving, but because we just had this warm conversation, and I was a little bit offended. She's like, he's younger, like he'll relate to my son. But that was that was a great experience, and these things should happen a lot more often than they do. but they never will happen, because what if we do these things? What if we change the way we live our lives and we don't remain secret agents? Wouldn't that change? Wouldn't that have a massive impact on, your marker on the life that you lived? You would affect more people. You'd be able to accomplish more of what you're looking to do. You would provide more for your families. You could help people in that case. It just empowers us to do so much more. And it all starts with the what if. What if you were committed to doing that? What if it wasn't just I should? What if that was a commitment?
Rob, you gave me a great segue. What if you wore your name badge all the time? I will tell you, if you go stand in the middle of a department store with that name badge on, you'll talk to more people than you could ever ask for. There's never anyone there to help them. Go to Home Depot with your name badge on.
Hold on, is Adrian on the call? So Adrian's one of our longtime followers of Masterminds, who always come to the in-person ones. And Adrian was one that took my crazy tip of wearing your name badge upside down. Anybody ever hear that one? Because people
That's a great idea.
People come to you and they say, "Carly, your name badge is upside down." Oh, nice to meet you.
That's hysterical.
I'm going to start doing that.
That's great. I need a name badge.
That's a good one.
Name badge orders are going to go through the roof now. Great job. Did you budget for that? Rob, I do have to jump off, but this was a great webinar. I think you need to change the name to greatest of all time or top 5. This one was awesome.
All right. Well, thanks.
All right, I got to pop off. All right. Bye everyone.
So, the what ifs of our lives and the near misses, these are the things that really have a significant impact. Okay. I'm going to go back to our mission statement for a minute, and hopefully, what if we all put a review there? We all might get an extra, transaction that we didn't know that's coming to us because they saw the positive reviews for our office. What if you loved what you do? What if you did it with purpose and hustle instead of, just telling yourself, I love what I do? What if you led by example? What if you accepted personal responsibility? Right? What if people can see the caring that you have rather than you just caring? Because I really believe that we all care about what we do. And, you're not here because you're looking to cut corners and you just barely deliver the minimum service to get the commission check. But what if they knew how much we cared and how much we valued, the lifetime value, the lifetime relationship that they had? Right? What if we owned our results and we stopped blaming others? Right? Because, this is the fairest business on the planet. I hate to say it to you, but this is the fairest business on the planet. There is no preference. There is, nobody who's getting favoritism. There is nobody who got their job here because they know somebody and I put them in this chair and they make $1 million and the person next to them makes 10,000 and is out of the business. No, it's completely up to us. What if we owned the results? What if we expected? What if we took responsibility and stopped blaming others, right? What if we recognized the unlimited possibilities and we weren't a scarcity mindset? Because if you had a scarcity mindset, you might get intimidated if it doesn't work for you, right? If it doesn't work for you, it might hurt your feelings and then you might not do it again. What if you stopped thinking like that? Right? What if? What if you stop thinking that, hey, you know what? I can get a listing, but this homeowner is saying that, you know what, the problem is, and for those of you who went door knocking with me, I probably heard this at least once for every hour that we were out there. Yeah, I'd sell my place, but where would I go? How would you answer that? That's
if I were to wave a magic wand, where would you want to be?
Yeah, but if I get top dollar, but I won't be able to find a place. There's nothing out there. So
have you thought about going to another state?
I had exactly the same question yesterday. I knocked on a FISBA unexpired, and he said he still wants to sell it, but he's looking to rent, but he can't find anything.
Who's that talking? Galena?
Yeah.
All right. So here's what if you knew exactly what you were going to say, Galena?
It was just unexpected. I didn't expect to knock, but I was like, okay, just while I had those balls, I'm like, I knocked on the door on the way home and I said, listen, it looked like you wanted to sell a couple months ago, but you weren't successful. And I actually do have somebody in Park Ridge that really wanted. And he says, how did you know? I started looking a week ago, but I can't find anything. It was just perfect timing. But he,
so here you are now. I want to frame this, and I want to show you how obvious this is, Galena. And this is not a critique on you. This is the way that the industry thinks. Okay, this is not a Galena thing. But
Totally.
I would frame that and say, you know what, Galena, how many agents have actually knocked on your door? It's like, I'm actually out here to make sure that I get my buyers' properties. You know, it's never a question of where will you go. There's more homes sold now than ever. We just need to have the right strategy. So if you're thinking about selling, don't worry about buying.
I'd also mention in there like the seller, like a contingency for the seller and say upon seller's relocation for that, and maybe even mention like a use and occupancy.
So I think that that's a detail once you get over the what if they can't find a place, right? That's part of the strategy. But the confident answer is like, hey, if you want to buy a house and you're afraid about not being successful, then you should not talk to me. Because if you want to sell and buy, we're moving.
I got his email and I got his phone number and I said, I'm going to see, he's an older, he's like in his 70s. And he says, I don't want to own anything. He says, I just want to rent.
So that's easy too, right? That's an easy.
I took his email, but I mean, his budget and where he wants development, it's not, there's like nothing there. But
Wait,
I still got his email.
You mean where he wants to rent?
Mm-hmm. In Mawa, there's like a development in Mawa he wants, but his budget's like 1,700, 18, and it's like barely anything for one bed.
So go back to integrity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what if that price point isn't there right now? You know, would you consider buying it? Right?
If he does, well, he doesn't want to buy. He just wants to cash out, and he says he wants to live his last days. Like I had a little conversation with him.
Right. But I want to make $2 million and sleep till 11. But what's the chance of that happening? What do you think, Zach? Can you make $2 million and sleep till 11 o'clock? No.
No, that's not going to be able to happen.
So we have to have the integrity, and we have to be respectful, right? We have to say, hey, you know, with all due respect, Max, you know, we can't get you a place for 1,700, but we can definitely sell it to you. We can get you the best possible deal, and more importantly, we can get you a place there if you're committed to moving.
He's committed, so I'm like I said, I was last night, so I have to follow up today. And
right. So I'm being outspoken just because I want to get everybody to think a little bit differently. Because if somebody tells me, you know, yeah, you know, I want to sell my house, but I'm afraid I can't find anything, you know, honestly, you're talking to the wrong person. Because if you want to sell and you want to buy, you know, that's what I do. I can help you out. There's no question. If you want to have uncertainty and be afraid about being successful buying, maybe you want to contact one of my competitors. Because I can get you into a house. We can talk about the strategy. We can have an open conversation. I can give you the confidence. I'm going to have passion. I'm going to lead you through the example. I really care about the outcome. I'm not here to rip you off, right? I'm going to be accountable to my standard, right? I'm going to tell you that we live in an abundant world. If we have the right strategy, we can win. We might need to get innovative, right? So look at how many of these core values that we're embracing just to solve one problem. Okay?
We'll be much more confident.
What if we embrace and be an industry catalyst for change, right? I mean, sometimes, you know, with all this high tech, sometimes it becomes to whether or not you can have control of a phone conversation to be successful, right? I mean, you can know everything, but if you can't control the conversation, is anybody going to even talk to you after 4 seconds, or are they hanging up the phone?
I feel like if you don't have control of a conversation, you might not have control of a lot of things.
Right, but you can't help people if you don't have the strategy to communicate well, right?
Totally.
So we have some of the last 5 yards or the last mile of a transaction is super duper old school, right? We're knocking on a door, right? Like we could use all this tech and say, hey, let me get the email addresses for all the people that live in these 3 blocks. Let me get their phone numbers and I can speed dial them, right? But that form of communication is a lot lower than knocking on their door. There's a lot less people knocking on their door. Everybody's spamming them on the phone, right? Everybody's sending them a piece of mail, right? How many pieces of mail do you get with, oh, I'm the greatest. I just sold this house next door. Or, hey, I buy houses. Call me, right? Does anybody besides me get those?
Number one in the mail all the time.
Yeah, number one. And sometimes it's hysterical because, like, from a consumer perspective, you'll get the selling agent and the listing agent sending you an email saying, I just sold this house. And you get two of them. You both sold the house. I mean, I understand, like, logically, yeah, one was a listing, but like, how can both people have sold the house next door to me? They're both sending me bragging. So
It's funny that you would say that, Rob, because there was a house around the corner for sale with one real estate company, Coldwell Banker, and then it sold. And then the next day there was a sign with Gavin Agency that said sold. So the buyer agent put a sold sign up on the property.
I think the old techniques, like, being intimidated, being afraid to talk to people is a tremendously limiting trait. So you have to, say, what if you had a mission? And I read a book called The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. And one of the things he said there, I just never forget, which is, if you are taking the initiative and you believe that you're the best person for the job, right? And we have significance in what we do. And I'm looking at Carly in front of the chalkboard there. You're teaching the children that are the future. That's a very noble and very influential position that you have, right? Because you're molding people for their future life. Now, there's a lot of teachers that go into that mix of how do you mold our youth. But I would say that probably one of the most significant decisions that we make is, where do we decide to live to raise our family? That's going to influence who they meet, who they hang around with, a lot about how their life goes. And we just take it very lightly, right? What if we looked at it and we said, if we're going to make the investment, we're going to, what if you get up every Friday and you listen to Rob, you should get a medal for that. But what if you did that? And you knew that you were the best position to influence people to make the right decisions? Okay, I'm going to tell you, you have a moral obligation to be as efficient as possible and to help as many people as you possibly can, because you are in rare air. You're in a very positive minority of people that are putting integrity, relationships first over the dollar, right? What if you would never, do something that was inconsistent with your values just to make a quick sale? What if you were telling somebody, look, I might not be the right agent to help you because ultimately, when your house doesn't sell, you're going to get less money. And, you'd be like, Rob, you're crazy. Take it and then tell them to lower the price. I wouldn't do it. That's just my opinion. And, I think there's maybe one listing that we didn't take because of that, but there's probably 10 or 11 of them where the person said, wait a second, you're telling me that you don't want my listing? I'm like, I didn't say that, Christine, I didn't say I don't want your listing. What I said was, I don't want to have you not recognize the full potential of your home by marketing it incorrectly. So, I might not be the right person to do it because I don't think that's going to maximize your value. And then you start packing your stuff up. You know what they're going to say? Wait a second. You and it's not drama. It's not show. It's integrity, right? I mean, let me just, Jeanette, Welcome back. How are you? Let me unmute you. All right, maybe I can't unmute you. Are you there? I can't hear you. What's going on here? All right, I apologize. I can't hear you. I'm gonna go over to Lisa. Can you hear us, Lisa, and unmute yourself for a second?
Which Lisa?
Lisa.
Me.
So I'm going to ask you a question in front of a bunch of your peers. Would you lie to somebody to make $1?
No.
Would you mislead somebody as to the value of their home to get a listing?
No.
Would most of your peers do that?
I hope not.
Well, okay. When most people in the industry take an overpriced listing and not be honest with the seller, what do you think?
I think there's a lot of people that do that, yes. But they have to live with themselves.
But
personally,
I don't think people even think of that as a cardinal sin. I think they just think of it as, I'll take it and then I'll get them to lower the price. And if I have to tell what we would call a white lie to get the listing, that maybe it's worth it. Do you think that people might do that and might not even realize that they're violating a principle of trust? Right?
Yes, I think it's done all the time. Yeah.
So this would be where they say the ends justify the means, right? So Galina, I'm going to take your overpriced listing here because I know that I'm going to show you that agents tell me that it's overpriced. I'm going to say, look, this is a strategy that some agents and companies use. They take your listing because they don't have the skills or the courage or the integrity to be honest. They take your overpriced listing. Everybody sees it. They get the feedback. Everybody says it's overpriced. Then I go to you and say, Galina, the last 7 agents that showed it, here's their feedback. We're overpriced.
I will be disappointed.
Right, but there are brokerages that's a strategy that they employ, which to me violates rule number 1, which is integrity, right?
Absolutely. I have my best friend, her husband has plenty townhouses, and he asked me to list his property. It was worth $650. He wanted $899, and all I told him, I said, I will disappoint you at your price. And he said, I respect that, your honesty. He says, maybe I'm not ready to sell it. And we still really good friends without me disappointing or pissing him off.
And maybe a shift that you could use there is, Galina, are you open to selling your home at absolute full market value? If you could not leave a penny on the table, would you be a seller? Right? And most people would say, well, yeah, if I don't leave any money on the table. Well, here's the strategy that you don't leave any money on the table, and you see if they're really committed to doing that strategy. And if not, it's okay to walk away.
Totally.
Okay. So, see, we have a question in the chat here. Oh, it's a great question. I hope that this, this mindset here, and this moral obligation to help others is stacks on your vision board to why you do this, right? Like I know Maria just popped on here, and I think Maria is an example of somebody who thinks first to serve and probably lastly to serve herself. And I think it's going to work out really well for you because you're the first person to come to help an agent. You're the first person to try to share a solution with somebody. That mindset is something that is a learned mindset. It's not a randomness, right? We all need to, no, I shouldn't say we all need that. I said we all should consider looking at our industry with a servant's heart of how can we help people. And if we put integrity and service before our own commission, there's a strange irony, which means that we're going to actually do better ourselves, right?
And thank you for your kind, wonderful words. I'm humbled, Rob. I believe that it's a passion that I have. And I think when you have passion for anything that you do, whether it's raising your family, your friends, your work, when you have passion for what you're doing, you excel. And you do live in a world of abundance when you live with passion. And that's where I'm coming from.
And here's another what if, and then I'm going to turn it over to some questions. And thank you, Maria. But it's an observation of what you're doing. It wasn't a half-hearted compliment. It's just me observing what goes on, and your DNA drives what happens. So what if we approached our business a little bit differently, right? What if we approached our business and this was in our mindset? For some of us that are newer, I'm looking at Christine and Carly. What if you looked at every transaction as, look, you know what? If all I did was sell your house or get you to buy a house and that was it, that it would have been a mistake to work with me. Are you saying, what the heck?
I mean, I agree with you because I think it really boils down to what you guys were saying is building that relationship. I don't want to just be a transaction and a number and ooh, yay, I'm making my count for the year, because then I didn't do my job, because Christine and I are a team and we're working together. I think number one, I don't want to fail her. I don't want to fail this office, but I'm failing my customers and clients because the goal really is getting that referral. And truly having that person rely on me and feel that, oh, I know when I work with Christine and Carly, that I'm in good hands and I'm going to be taken care of. And I am finding someone who's looking out for my best interests. So if it's just a number, then we're not doing our job.
And I just want to say something now. This is a smaller group than usual, but it's a very intimate conversation. Working with you has taught me so much. Like trying to serve and learn is just been like a tremendous gift for me, because I feel like I've developed as a leader and as a person. And a lot of this stuff I get from reading and observing and trying to get ideas from others, but a lot of this stuff is just coming it's coming from my soul and telling me, like, my intuition on how to address some things. And I forget who I was out with, but we were on a listing appointment. And you ever have somebody that's always focused on the dollar? Like, how much is that? Can you do it for less? Right? I mean, I'm sure if you've been on more than one listing appointment, you've had this happen, right? And I'm just sitting there and I said, they're like, well, this company will do it for this and they'll do it for that. And, it's just like not falling into line with like my predetermined plan for the universe, right? They're just focusing on the dollars and cents, right? And I went and I think it was about a $425,000 sale, and it was 3%. I'm like, you know what? If all I ever did was sell your house, Carly, and earn a commission of $12,000, and you say I did a good job and earned it, this would have been a mistake, and I would respectfully, withdraw from consideration here. We want to make sure that we do a phenomenal job and that we deliver way more than $12,215 of value for this relationship. And, if you want to go with, 4.9%, I can understand that. But I just want to let you know, like, you can't compare a Yugo, to a Ferrari. There's just no comparison. So, like, and it didn't come across as arrogant, but it was just genuine. Like, if you want if you want to get the lowest commission, I'm not the right person for you. If you want to get somebody who's committed to getting you the highest value, recognizing the highest value, having the least amount of stress in the process, okay, and getting it done efficiently, then we need to continue this conversation. If you're okay having a rough ride in a secondhand used car to get to the finish line, and ultimately going to cost you more in repairs to get there, I'm not the person for you. Like these are analogies that are ingrained in the way that I think. And if you think like that, you don't need to think twice about how you respond to a consumer. And, the last what if I have is, what if you knew exactly how you're going to react to every particular objection or instance that comes on? And you might not know the exact strategy, but the process, the direction that you're going to go, right? You know, what if you were not afraid of any questions, like the got you questions? Anybody have a got you question that somebody can throw on you at a listing appointment or as a buyer that would be like, oh man, they got me here. Shit. Anybody have any of those? Anybody have like that anxiety about it?
Definitely. Definitely.
Now, don't you think it would be better, Galena, if you had, you know, confidence in the way that you could address any of those and it would be good for the consumer, it would be good for you?
For sure.
And, you know, you've been doing phenomenal, you've been doing tremendous in a short period of time. And I'm sure that you've had some anxiety getting along the way, as we all do. But if you just invest in yourself and you know that, you know, you're always going to do the right thing, you have integrity, you're going to be transparent. These are things that are in your blood. They take a blood sample. They see, Galena has the highest level of integrity. You know, she has enthusiasm. She cares. She's always, you know what I mean? Like that's part of who you are. People sense that. You know, if you're just trying to, you know, skate by with a 75 on your real estate exam just to get the license, people know that as well, right? All I need to do is figure out how do I get you to sign on the line that's dotted, and then how do I have a strategy to get you to cut the price so I get my $12,000 commission. People know that.
For sure. I just went for my first listing appointment by myself because I've been tagging Rebecca with me.
Excellent. How did it go? How nervous were you?
It wasn't nervous because the guy up front told me, he says, I don't want you to come back and give me overpriced and then start lowering. I want the right price.
Oh, wow. That was winning the lottery.
Yeah. And so I brought them in. They were very happy. And we talked, and she says, we're going to start getting ready. And it was the next door of my listing. So neighbors came in.
Excellent. Congratulations.
It was nerve-wracking, but yes, for sure, I was afraid of those questions. But if you know the steps to everything, you're not afraid of those questions anymore.
So
I think it also helps, like, you know, we all get insecurities sometimes, and this is Mike, but you know, sometimes you have to mess up too. Like you learn from your challenges, you grow from your failures, and so you know, you won't have success without having any failures too. So you can screw up a question, it's okay. And if you can tell yourself, what's the worst thing that happens if I screw up this question? What is the worst thing? Okay, then you don't get the listing, but then you learn from it, right?
That's the only way we learn, right?
Right.
So like, I want to say I make this up, but look I just get this little notification from Inman. It says bubble burst is mythical at best. Here's why there won't be a crash. We're 2 months ahead of them, folks. Inman must be following us.
They don't have their video on.
Exactly. So anyway, you know, it's a pleasure to serve all of you. Are there any other questions? I mean, this has been, you know, kind of like a free flow, unscripted session about, you know, trying to self-discover, you know, how you're going to go about doing business. And I think it's a refreshing way to look at things. And I hope it adds some value. And, you know, maybe if there's one or two of you that kind of it's life-changing by anchoring you to some integrity and some higher cause, you know, like if you have a moral obligation to help as many people as you can, you need to leverage yourself, because if you don't leverage yourself, you can't help as many people, right? And if you're always going to be honest, right, that makes life easy. You don't have to worry about any lies that you tell, right? If you have passion for what you're doing, you can deal with some adversity and still move on, because there will be adversity. Okay. You know, the more I think about this, you know, and our leadership team put together our mission statement, not me. And, you know, it's an example of, you know, what I think is going to help everybody, you know, help the customer. And all of that is good, you know, telling white lies and allowing a customer to tell you how they're going to sell their house is just, to me, bad business, right? That's looking at it from a scarcity mindset of, I have to tell a white lie to get this listing, and then I have to do some tricks here, cut some deals here to make sure I get it to the closing table and put the check in my account. You know, for me, that doesn't feel good. You know, if it does for you, you know, it's not something that I am passionate about. But I think if we just make a little shift here, it's going to be a life-changing activity. And one of the people when I started out in the lending business, one of the things that somebody told me early on was, there's no one transaction that's worth your career, right? And what he meant when he said that to me was, don't ever cut a corner, don't ever try to be a hero, because it's not worth it for your career. And I know I saw Lorraine, you raised your hand with a question.
Yeah, I have one of those got me things that I wanted to get your feedback on. So I have somebody that I door knocked in my neighborhood a few times over the years. She's a mature lady, and so she seemed kind of like, oh, thank you so much. I have your card on my phone, on my fridge, and all that. The first couple of times. And then the last time I went by, this is now, before the COVID, so it's over a year ago now. She said, oh, my financial planner told me I can't sell my house. I'm going to get killed with my taxes, and that was kind of like, I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. I didn't really know what to say because I know her family. I mean, she lives alone. I know her family is in another state, and she had talked about moving near like her daughter and grandkids. And so after I left, I thought about, I said, that doesn't even sound right to me because again, it's about, in my opinion, like her life, not so much about, what her financial planner said, so.
Was he talking about the capital gains?
Yeah, well, she didn't go into detail, but I was a little bit, stumped really as to what to say when she said that, so I'm wondering, like, I want to go knock her door again and go say hello to her. Yeah.
So number one is if for some reason she would get financially killed, I would say, we need to always look at what's in the best interest of the client and say, hey, if that's not the right thing for you, I completely respect it. My instinct would say, look, what I'd like to do is invite you and your financial planner to a Zoom meeting and we can see how we can serve you. And if it's not right for you, I completely respect that. And then when that conversation is done, the next time you knock on the door, she knows that you put her interest above your own and you say, hey, do you know anyone else that I can help? Because if you help somebody by telling them, maybe now is the right time to stay in your house because we don't have commission breath. Those are the people that can be your lifetime referrals. I mean, Maria, do you remember one of the sales from Danielle Coyle, and she's going to be getting a listing soon? Yes. I did a mastermind. I talked about this super referrer that was 30 years ago when I was in the mortgage business. Everywhere he went, he was playing poker with his friends. He would not give my card out, but he would call the person and give the phone over and say, hey, you got to talk to Rob. He's my mortgage lender. Right? And his name is Alan Kazin. And I actually called him up after one of these masterminds because I'm like, he was such a great referral source. And we got a listing from him from that one phone call. His daughter needed to sell a house and buy a house. Danielle did both of those, right?
Yes.
So there was 2 transactions that came out from one call. Okay. And then he's going to sell another, like this putting the customer first really does pay off. And some people won't recognize it, but the people that do, let me just say, wow, it's life-changing. Like he would be in the supermarket and you'd hear somebody talking about refinancing and he'd hand my phone to him. I'm like, how do you know Alan? I don't know him. He was behind me in the line at the supermarket. I'm like, this is crazy. Like that's a referrer that we all need. So I'm going to wish you all a fantastic weekend, and just tell you I hope this is helpful in developing your mindset. And now, before you do things, you say, "What if I did it like this? How would that change my life?"
Rob, a little plug, please. I know from a couple of weeks ago I mentioned I'm developing some workshops for the company and restructuring a lot of the training. We will be having a lot of these little workshops on a weekly basis just to help you guys out. So look out in the next couple of weeks. We're going to have a wonderful training calendar. I don't want to call it a training calendar. It's going to be our education calendar. How about that?
Yep. And don't forget to post a review out there because it's going to help us all. It's going to help you more than me. But if you said, I work for a company that puts integrity and customers above all. I'm super excited to work there, and we're a learning-based, customer-focused company. Like, put a 5-star review. It's going to help everybody. So please go and do that. It'll help your offices out, and you'll also feel good about it. And I thank you all for coming today, and have a great weekend.
Bye, guys. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms.
Happy Mother's Day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Mother's
Bye.
Day.